Hello friends, in today's lecture we will try to cover some topics of the subject International Strategic Management. Few topics which are still pending will be covered in the subsequent classes. The biggest risk is not taking any risk. In a world that's changing really quickly, the only strategy that is guaranteed to fail is not taking risk. International Strategic Management Process. We have already studied this process in the strategic management class. In international strategic management, the steps remains the same, just the process becomes complex and complicated due to higher uncertainty and higher ambiguity in the international business. First step of the process is environmental scanning. It includes scanning both internal and external environment, both macro environment and micro environment. Among all the steps, this step is most complex in the international business as the environment is very dynamic. It keeps on changing. You scan it today and it will change tomorrow. For an example, in February, pandemic corona was spreading in China, whereas in April, total deaths in China were around 4,000 only, and in United States of America, it was 80,000. A strategy looking attractive of investing in United States in February would look bad, and investing in China will look attractive. This is one example. In international business, a firm has to deal with several such aspects because the environment is very dynamic. The next step is formulation. After an environmental scanning, we have to formulate the strategies. And while formulation, geographical, cultural, political differences are need to be considered while formulating strategies. In, for an example, in United States of America, dependence on cash is around 20%, and in India it is more than 90%. So a company dealing in both the countries will have to make strategies accordingly for both the different countries. In Australia, few banks are there which are even cashless. Coming again to the formulation part. In formulation part, we broadly study Bartlett's and Ghoshal model, and we also study Ansoff growth matrix. Ansoff growth matrix you must have already studied and you must be knowing it. Bartlett and Ghoshal matrix I have already explained it. Still I will recall it, recollect. I will help you in recalling it. In the globalization strategy, in the global strategy, it treats the world as a single global market, standardizes the global products and advertising strategies, whereas in transnational strategies seeks to balance global efficiencies and local responsiveness. It considers both as an important and give high attention to both of them. It combines standardization and customization for product advertising strategies, whereas in export strategy, the domestically things are focused. Exports a few domestically produced products, whereas don't have any expend investment in another country. In multi-domestic, handles markets independently for each country, adopts product according to the local needs and preferences. The example of international strategy is a small company which is exporting its product but not have not invested in that particular country. Multi-domestic example would be McDonald's. Global example would be your iPhone, Apple. Transnational, generally all the companies are moving towards this transnational approach. They are giving uh, importance to the local responsiveness. At the same time, they are also considering global integration. It is using the uh, better things of both the things, better advantages of both the strategies. Coming to the approaches to strategic management, strategic formulation. Basically, we have studied traditional approach and we have also used modern approach. Traditional approach where time value of money is not given consideration, and whereas modern approach where time value of money is given weightage. Mainly two approaches of strategic formulation. These are the two approaches of the strategic formulation have been studied so far. Coming to the next slide. In the approaches, we have already discussed HOFER'S model, but I will revise it for you people. According to this model, a firm's business is positioned in a 15 cell matrix, as you can right away see here, based on two major variables, that is stage of production, market development, and competitive position. Charles Hofer suggested this refinement of General Electric McKinsey portfolio matrix. This matrix is also called as life cycle portfolio matrix. Hofer's matrix reflects the stage of the development of the product or market. Business units are placed on a grid showing their stages of product market evolution and their competitive position. Hofer's evolution metrics are useful to develop strategies that are appropriate at different stages of product life cycle. In Hofer's matrix, the vertical axis represents the stages of product market evolution and horizontal axis represents the SBU's competitive position. In this matrix, three stages of competitive position of SBU, that is strong, average and weak, are shown on the horizontal axis. The vertical axis shows the industry's state in the evolutionary life cycle, from the development to the decline stage. The next is Shell Directional Policy Model. This was developed by Shell Chemicals, United Kingdom. It is another portfolio model, helps the company in identifying one balanced business portfolio. The model is positioned in 3x3 matrix. The vertical axis represents the company's competitive capability graded in three classes, that is weak, average and strong. The horizontal axis represents the business sector prospects of profitability, which are categorized into unattractive, average and attractive. And in each cell, fate of every combination is mentioned, which varies from leadership to divestment. Other metrics have been already discussed, like VCG matrix, which have already discussed in the class. Coming to the implementation stage. Strategy formulation itself is not sufficient. It should also be implemented well. Who, when, where, and how the goals will be achieved. Identification of organizational structure and processes is important. But few structure may be suitable in one country, may fail in another country. Example, in India, hierarchical structure could be better and more successful, whereas in United States, flat structure may give better results. We have already studied different types of structures such as hierarchical structure, flat structure, right? In this class, we will try to study HOLARCTIC organization or HOLARCTIC structure. In this organization structure is a new way of structuring and running your organization into the management hierarchy. Instead of management hierarchy, the instead of top down approach, giving individuals and teams freedom while aligning to the organizational purpose. That means the freedom is given to the different teams to take any kind of decision as they want to take. They all act as a independent teams. They all act as an independent decision making unit, but they all are aligned to organizational purpose. Now, discussing what do you mean by whole on. Whole on is something that is simultaneously a whole and a part. So a whole on is existing as a individual independent unit also, whereas it is also a part of another unit or whole on. Coming to the implementation stage, this is a very important thing which you need to understand. McKinsey's 7S model, which generally comes in your examination. Do you know how well your organization is positioned to achieve its goal, or what elements influence its ability to implement change successfully? This model was developed in the late 1970s by Tom Peters and Robert Watson. They were the former consultants of McKinsey and Company. They identify 7 elements of an organization that need to be aligned for the success of the organization. These 7 are internal to the organization. These elements has been divided into hard and soft, and they help in better implementation of the formulated plans and strategies. In international business, it is more complicated and difficult to control them. The seven the 7 elements have been divided into 3 and 4, that is 3 hard elements and 4 soft elements. In the hard elements, it is relatively difficult to control them, and the soft elements, it's relatively easy to control or moderate them. You can easily understand what are the meanings of them: strategy, structure, system, shared value, skills, staff, style. You can pause this and you can also read the things which are mentioned over here. In addition, I would say in structure, what what structure do we need to execute the strategy? What kind of structure do we need to execute the strategy? In systems, what business systems do we need to use or invest to execute the strategy? In shared values, or in the shared values, what are our principles and how they help us? Why do we do what we do in the organization? Style is mainly of the leadership. Style is what leadership style and cultural qualities will help us to achieve a strategic objective. In the leadership style, in the leadership qualities, you need to study them in much more details, although we have already studied them in strategic management class, and you must have studied them in your MPOB class as well, such as your autocrative style and others. Leadership styles, you need to study them well for your examination, because this is a very probable question which can come in your examination on that kind of leadership. Structure, almost all the students are able to draw, but in leadership, many of the students are unable to perform well in the examination. Among all these 7 things, you will do well in all these things. You can study something related to values, how values or beliefs help in an organization to get success, and how the leadership styles are different, and which leadership style would be better in which organization. I will give an example. For an example, in India, autocratic style of leadership may work, but in United States of America it may fail. So we need to understand that particular thing also. In skills, what are the specific skills that that will help us? Which skill need to develop? Which skills are needed to be developed? What are the competencies and capabilities of the organization will also come into the skills. I hope these things are clear. I suggest you to read a standard textbook also for all these things. I just can give you brief overview of these things. So this is a very important topic, and in this particular topic also, structure, types of structure, and the styles of leadership, and impact of values on the organization will be important questions from the examination point of view. Coming to the evolution, monitoring and regulation from deviation is important. Like all other phases, it's very difficult to evaluate an international business. As in one country, a growth of 2% may look attractive, and in another market, even 5% growth will look unattractive. Measuring and driving towards a singular measure such as purchase price variance often leads to higher overall costs that are invisible in traditional accounting system. Getting the lowest possible price is important. Yes, it's important, but measuring an uninterrupted supply of needed material to maintain the production schedule and meet customer deadline is more important. So that so therefore it's important that on which basis you have to evaluate or you wish to evaluate your strategy. Should be it be only on the basis of your profits? Should it be only on the basis of your increased growth rate, or it should be on the basis of customer satisfaction? It depends upon the kind of organization you are, the kind of market in which you are there, the at the stage of the life cycle of the organization in which you are. For example, Ola, Uber, Oyo will have a different kind of strategy for their success and different types of strategies for their evolution of the success. They will basically give more weightage to the number of users, whereas the companies like IBM will also give weightage to profitability and on other aspects. Evolution can be of process and outcome. Evolution. Now, what is the basic difference between evolution and control? Because in study you study that there are different steps in strategic management process which includes evolution and control. So what is the basic difference between both of them? The most basic difference according to me is evolution should be a reactive process, whereas a control is a proactive process. As I believe, evolution is basically related to looking in the past. If you are looking in the past, that means yes, it is a reactive process. Evolution is followed by the control, and control is preceded by the evolution. Controlling is tracking actual present performance. Evolution is tracking the past performance, whereas planning involves looking in the past. So sorry, planning involves looking in the future. It's wrongly written over here. Planning is looking into the future, controlling is looking in the present, and evolution is looking in the past. One is proactive approach and another one is reactive approach. Coming to the control, actual performances are measured against a different yardsticks. This is mainly done through two different techniques. The one is strategic movement control and another one is strategic leap control. In strategic movement control, control of existing strategy believes that the assumption on which strategies have been constructed are still valid, whereas in leap control, it believes the strategies on which the assumptions on which the basis of which the strategies were formed does not exist in the current situation. When environment is relatively stable, we go for strategic moment control. When the environment is very dynamic, environment probably have major shifts in strategies and their assumptions may require drastic changes. In that condition, strategic leap control will be an important factor. Now, after I have already discussed McKinsey 7S model is an important, Bartlett's and Ghoshal matrix is very important from the examination point of view. It's not necessary that they will be asking you question only on the Bartlett's and Ghoshal matrix, but they may even ask you different examples or questions of formulating strategies. In that particular example, I suggest you to study Bartlett and Ghoshal model very deeply and very extensively. In addition to that, kindly also study the different strategies of entering into the new market, like we studied franchising, etc. So kindly revise those topics again from the examination point of view. And after that, I discussed that the leadership qualities and the leadership styles, not the qualities, will be an important question from the examination point of view. And in addition to that, the different structures and values and how those structures, values, and leadership styles can lead an organization to success could be an important example or question in the examination. Now coming to the third or the fifth, particularly fifth important question from the ISM point of view could be, one question could be your strategic international strategic management process as well. In addition to that, I will be also sharing the important questions which might come in the examination, which I formed after analyzing the examination paper of last few years of Kurukshetra University. In ethical consideration in international business, generally we can mention ethics, we can mention the definition of ethics, we can mention the differences between ethics and legal, and which we have already studied in the topics in strategic management and management ethos classes. In international business, it's important. In this particular subject, the most important thing is whenever you are writing anything, you have studied all the things of this particular subject in the last semester, but whenever you are mentioning anything, you need to make it focused on the international business. Your orientation should be on the global business, international business, multi-domestic business, transnational business. Your approach should be how you can deal in foreign nations. I hope you are clear with that. In ethics also, after giving the definitions, I think you should give appropriate examples, because appropriate examples are very much important to understand the concept. In addition, they are also important while explaining the concepts in the examination. In international business is a major concern. For an example, a senior executive, there was a case which I was reading. There were several different cases. Few cases have already discussed or shared with you people in the classroom. There was a case which I was reading that a senior executive of IT in a MNC firm was carrying pentobarbital, which is a psychotropic drug which was not banned in his own country, but when he was caught in Dubai, it was banned in Dubai. So when you are dealing with your organization is dealing in different countries, you need to train your employees culturally, in the terms of techniques, in the terms of technology usage, in the terms of ethics, in the terms of legal complications as well. For an example, this medicine was not banned in the country of that particular person, whereas when it when he was caught in Dubai with that particular medicine, he was given up imprisonment of 10 years. So he started his journey as on a positive note but ended his journey on a very negative note. In Japan and Korea, bribery was not fine earlier, but now the law has changed. So think, in all the countries bribery is a criminal offense, whereas in Japan and Korea it was not a criminal offense. But now as the laws have changed, now it is again a criminal offense. Earlier, when it was not a criminal offense or it was not illegal, it was unethical. But now it's not unethical, but it's now illegal. So when you are dealing with different countries, in addition to the cultures which we studied in business communication classes, like how the communication, body language, and culture would be different in different countries, we also need to study the ethics, the definition of ethics, the values, and the beliefs in that particular country, which are wrong and which are not right. For an example, there was a country in which recently a first woman driver got the license. So there are few countries in which that was not unethical to not give the equal rights to the women, whereas in other countries that could be unethical. So when we are making our policies, when we are making our advertisement, when we are making our strategies for different countries, we need to consider the value system, which is shared belief of that particular country, what they seem or deem fit, what they deem right or what they deem wrong, and these things should be considered while making or formulating the strategies. That's all for today's class. You all can mention the topics which you find difficult while understanding, and I will be more than happy to explain those topics to you people. That's all for today's class. Thank you so much.